Hi, I'm Ariel. You're watching She Wants the Diction, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about my lovely sensory issues. I've been wanting to make this video now for at least a week, and one of the kind of barriers to me wanting to sit down and do this, not only do I know that this is not going to interest a whole lot of people, because I mean, most people are probably like, this is a book channel, like talk about books. That's a whole separate issue. I am kind of gonna do what I want regardless. If you don't like it, you could just not watch it. But second thing being, I really wanted to talk about this, but I felt like I needed to like have my thoughts like 100% together before I could like sit down and make the video. Because the thing about the way that I think, and I've noticed this a lot over the past few weeks, is just that I will have the same thought occur to me several times throughout the day. And each time I will forget that I thought the thought and note to myself, I need to remember that, or I need to write that down. But I will then not write it down because it's like, well, I'm working or, you know, what have you. And I like forget that I had the thought until I remember later in the day that I had that thought. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to write that down. Like that's an idea. And sometimes I will pull out my notes app and do this on the spot. But if I don't do that, then I kind of like lose the thought. So it's like this really annoying like repetition of the thought like cropping back up. Like I don't know if what I'm saying right now like makes any sense whatsoever. But I have read that one of the things with ADHD is like our working memory is supposedly really poor. And once again, I am not 100% claiming to know that I have ADHD. Simply coming to the realization that this is probably one of the things that I have. And I am going to go and seek a diagnosis. It's just a matter of me getting up the courage and wherewithal and breaking that down into the first step, which is going to see the doctor, because I do not like checkups and I do not like, I've been burned a lot of times like by the doctor's office, and I have sought help for my anxiety before in the past and it did not go very well, which like, that's what they tell you to do, right? Like seek help. Oh, you need to seek help. Oh, if you have these problems, you need to like get help. You need to go to the doctor. You need to go to the therapist, blah, blah, blah. I just want to say to those people, it's not that simple. It's not that clear cut. It's not that easy. And a lot of the people that I see talking about these conditions online, this is a total separate tangent, but they are white. And I don't see like any black and brown neurodiverse people. And maybe it's just the algorithm. Like we all know YouTube is racist. TikTok is racist. These beauty algorithms are racist. We know all these things. There's probably all these reasons I'm not seeing these people pop up. Or if I do, it's like only one or two. Or even like we don't want to talk about, you know, these experiences because we're already othered in like this one way, so we don't want to make ourselves more vulnerable by talking about it. So yeah, there could be all kinds of tons of reasons, you know, why you wouldn't want to put yourself out there like that. So anyways, don't worry, I am planning to seek a diagnosis. I've already decided I'm going to pay whatever it costs because my happiness and quality of life is more important than money, frankly. And this is an issue that's been ongoing that I really need to resolve. But okay, so one of the things that I learned about ADHD is that you have trouble breaking a task down into small steps, like your executive functioning. Like I know for a fact I have problems with executive functioning. Your executive functioning, you have trouble breaking a giant task down into like these tiny measurable steps that you can take over a long period of time. Because I think the way that we really function best is all or nothing. And I've always had that all or nothing. If you guys have heard the Billy Joel song, I Go to Extremes, that all or nothing mentality, like I'm either going to not do anything on this or I'm going to do the most and I'm going to go the hardest and I'm going to be the best. Like, and there really is no in between for me. Like moderation is something that's really, really hard for me. Like either I'm eating the keto diet or I'm eating literally whatever I want at any time that I want. Fuck rules, fuck a system. Like there kind of is no in between for me. I've always just been kind of like a very extreme, I've been told I'm intense. I don't know. I've just been told I'm a very intense person. And for this video, I'm just going to kind of let my thoughts go where they may. And, you know, sorry, you're going to have to deal with it. This is who I am. A lot of my videos, I try much harder to make a structure, but even when I'm trying to be structured, I feel that I have tangents and I go off topic. And even just watching footage of myself back from this channel, the number of times that I'm looking out a window or looking at a sound, or for instance, not making eye contact, like this is another thing that I noticed recently about myself, is that my eye contact is really poor. I have trouble, even just the camera, I have trouble, if I have to concentrate on looking into the camera, then it is hard for me to keep track of the words that I'm saying. And I recently had talked to my brother about this. I asked him, I sort of had this realization, when he looks at me, when he talks to me, he's looking slightly to my side. He's not really looking at me even when I like try to look into his eyes. And I just realized this is sort of a family affair, so to speak. My brother has a lot of these same issues and symptoms that I have, like with panic attacks and stuff. and anxiety and depression. And, you know, I don't want to put all of his business out there because he hasn't consented to me talking about him. But suffice to say, I believe this runs in my family, whatever it is. My dad as well, I kind of wrote a poem recently talking about the house that I grew up in and how like dilapidated it was. Like it needed all these repairs, and he was always intending to fix it up. And this was a house from like the 1800s. And I was kind of talking about how it's like an unsafe, I mean, it probably wasn't an intentionally neglectful environment, but because it needed so many repairs and there were so many things wrong with it, I feel like it ended up contributing to like a physical neglect of a sort. So anyways, I kind of realized, and also just comments from my mom in her letters talking about how my dad could never really throw anything away. And I thought about it, and it's like, it's not that our house was so cluttered that you couldn't move around or that there was hoarding tendencies, it was more neglect. And I think he just kind of thought that one day he would get around to sorting through the stuff and say, not the garage, but we had like a storage, I don't know what to call it. It was like a basement, I guess, a storage basement, but it wasn't really like a nice finished basement. Like it was just kind of a room on the side of the house that was like unfinished and underground and dusty and stuff like that. So I think he always had the intention that like he would get to these things, and then like executive dysfunction, you never do. You always have the intention and then you never take action on it. And I kind of had this lightning bolt moment when my mom sent me my yearbooks, which I hadn't seen in probably over 10 years. And a lot of my friends have written like really, really sweet messages, so that was really heartwarming. But then to see them talking about, oh, I can't wait to read your book. Oh, I can't wait to see your writing and stuff like that. Like, I honestly just wanted to fucking cry, because I realized like I haven't gone, like I've had that goal, you know, since I was a kid, and I haven't gotten anywhere on it. It was almost like I had this light bulb realization moment. Like I am just like my dad saying, I have these goals. I intend to get to this long-term goal. But when it comes down to it, you don't have the short-term stamina to be able to accomplish these giant goals that you have for yourself, and everyone else is surpassing you and doing all these amazing things and graduating, getting these degrees, and you feel like you're just in the dust. Like I have written an Instagram post on my birthday one year talking about how I just felt like everyone else's life is such a straight line and mine is like this zigzagging like crazy pattern, and I'm so behind. But even then, before I understood what was happening, I had the capacity to recognize that my life was just going differently. It was just a different path. And I believe that figuring all of this out, even figuring out that there is something going on, I mean, I've always kind of known there's something going on, but figuring out that there is an external thing causing these difficulties and figuring out, trying to pinpoint what it is. Like I do all this reading. I'm sure people think that I am self-diagnosing and I'm a hypochondriac because what I think I have is constantly changing. I just don't want to say anything for sure that I don't know for sure. And I don't want to be disrespectful to neurodiverse communities, but I know for a fact I am neurodiverse in some way. I just don't know precisely what way that is. I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I do have a deep interest in psychology. So me reading all these books about BPD and ADHD and OCD and getting interested in each psychological disorder and going down the line being like, well, maybe I have this, well, I have traits of this, well, I have it is me, when I do not have accessibility, it is me trying to figure out what is going on because no one else will help me. It is kind of a research born out of desperation. A lot of chronically ill women have to take to doing their own research because doctors discount what they're saying. They don't believe that, they don't take them seriously. And this has been an ongoing pattern since I was a kid. I believe I was gaslit about different sensory issues that I have. For example, it's a very prime example, is I was a very picky eater as a kid. And if you have a black parent, then you understand that you did not turn away food. It's like, because we are so economically disadvantaged, to turn away food is like a slap in the face to a black parent who has to struggle so hard. And like, I understand that now, but I didn't understand the interplays of race back then. And it was just, you're going to eat this food or you're not going to eat. And foods in particular I had trouble with were things that are mushy. So like oatmeal, I'm trying to think what else. Pork and beans, the globs of fat, I did not like. There were just different things, and it was always a texture thing. Tomatoes is something that I've hated. I'm notorious for hating tomatoes, that I've hated since I was a kid. Now I will eat spaghetti sauce that is perfectly smooth ground up, but when it has the chunks, I think it's disgusting. To this day, I hate it. And that's been a trait of mine since I was a child. I also hate almost all sauces except for ranch. Don't ask me why I like ranch. I have gotten to the place where I can tolerate small amounts, very small amounts of things like, what do I like? The thing that's not mayonnaise, Miracle Whip. It's like mayonnaise but sweet. But I've gotten where I can tolerate small amounts of that, small amounts of ketchup or mustard if it gets accidentally put on my sandwich. But when I was a kid, I could not. I would wipe that stuff off. I would scrape that off. You know, when the one time a year we would get McDonald's, I would scrape the sauce off of my McDouble plain if they forgot to put it on. I would be really upset too. I would be like, You know, I ordered the McDouble plain. Like, I was very clear. I would make sure, like, plain. I need it plain. And so anyway, so I've developed a tolerance for that, but I never really started liking these textures that I've never liked. And in my house, I specifically remember on the oatmeal, it was like, you're going to sit here until you eat it. And I sat there all night. It wasn't that I threw tantrums. We all know tantrums don't work in Black households. Like, absolutely not. Misbehavior, acting out of any kind was not tolerated. And I understand now, like, why we had to be like little soldiers in the store and like not misbehave, or like misbehave. Like, we were very well behaved to outside observers, and it was because we were afraid. People would comment all the time on how well behaved me and my siblings were. I grew up in an abusive household. We were afraid of getting hurt, like, period. And so if you see somebody and their kids are well behaved, please don't assume that like that means they're a good parent, because those kids are probably terrified. But so anyways, acting out in a store, I think when you're black, you're a black parent with black kids, you may be afraid that not only people are going to judge you harshly, but that, you know, something bad may happen to you because your kids are acting up in a store, or you can't even act rambunctious as a normal, like, white kid would. I see kids all the time in the store screaming, and I think to myself, that would never have flown. Like, that would never have been allowed, because we had to be so prim, proper, and respectable. Like, there was a lot of respectability politics in my household growing up. So I don't know where I was going with that original story. I think I was talking about being a picky eater. But I was a picky eater from a very young age. And that's just one example of a sensory issue that I have. Another that I've talked about, that I didn't even realize was a sensory issue, but I talked about this in the beginning of one of my videos. And it was that I've always had a thing, like, for example, I don't like wearing bras, like traditional bras with the wire and the straps. I have always hated bras. And it was only in the past couple of years that I really got the courage to go braless. My old best friend was actually not make fun of me, but kind of roast me for not wearing a bra in public because she thought it was indecent, which I suppose is one of the reasons that we used to be best friends and now we aren't. Just one of many things. But point being that I finally reached, like, it's like it's kind of a double bind, because if you wear the bra, then you're uncomfortable, and then if you don't wear the bra, then, like, men, I feel like, use that as an excuse to, like, stare at you even if you have a relatively flat chest. And people, like, yeah, like, she thought I was, like, being indecent or, like, scandalous or something. It's like, no, I'm literally just, like, uncomfortable, and it's a societal construct. I'm struggling so much with my words. And, like, bras were invented. We weren't born wearing bras, like, and if they hurt, then, like, that to me says there's something unnatural. And I know somebody's gonna say, you just have the wrong bra size. I know my bra size, okay? I have no tits. Like, trust me, I know my bra size. But so anyways, I have always hated bras. And recently I kind of, like, found a solution, which was, like, these cotton bralette type of things that don't dig in, and I can wear those and still be decent because there's no, like, obvious nips. And the other thing I kind of talked about in this video was that to sleep in, especially, I can't have anything on. Like, I will take off watches, any jewelry. I will have my hair back, which you should be having that anyways, and I will only wear cotton, usually loose fitting. I don't like anything that's, yeah, I mean, it can be tight-ish, but it has to be cotton. There has to be nothing restraining, holding me. I've talked about this before, is why I struggle with, I think, fashion, is, like, I don't like things, like, tight around my neck, like necklaces. I find it kind of annoying. I can tolerate it, you know, sometimes for a few hours, but it's like things like that. And I don't really have trouble with, like, tags or anything that I know of, unless the tag's really annoying. Like, a traditional sort of sensory issue, I think, is, you know, with autistic people, tags and stuff like that. But I do have a preference for certain fabrics. For example, there's this really plush type of blanket, and it's really funny because Adam hates the texture of these blankets, but I absolutely love them, and I try to get them, I try to get as many of them as I can. Like, it's very, like, soft and plush. I could get up and show you, but I don't feel like doing that. So there's also certain textures that I really enjoy. And so I feel like that's an example of a sensory issue, is, like, the clothes thing and, like, the certain textures. And I feel like it comes down back to textures. I mean, taste textures and feel textures. You know what I mean? Like, it's all textures that you're putting on your body. Another texture that I really like is kind of like silky type lingerie material. I don't know if it's real silk, but that type of material I also really like. I have a couple things in that. So that and cotton, yeah, are just some of the textures that I really like. So at the time I was making that video, I didn't even know I had these sensory issues, but the more that I began to think about it and really notice these things, the more I noticed that this has been going on for a really, really long time, and I was just gaslit about it. I was bulldozed about it. I was told, you're just being difficult, and you're just whining, and you're just being a baby, and you're, you know, all these things. You know, it starts with your parents, and then it extends into other people telling you you're being ridiculous, when it was like, literally a sensory issue. Like, it's not just, you get perceived as being this like difficult contrarian who's just so precise and just has no leniency. And it's like, it was something that was bothering me and I was, you know, ignored about that. Like, it was something that was upsetting me. How could it have hurt me to have me eat a different breakfast food or a different breakfast cereal? You know, like, I understand the poverty, I understand the money issues, but one bowl of oatmeal, like, I understand the thing with wasting food. To this day, I like have a complex about wasting food. And clearing my plate, that was another thing. The point being, I think your kids' welfare is more important than wasting a small amount of oatmeal or what have you. And so when you get taught for so long to ignore the signals from your body, to ignore pain, to ignore your feelings, I got taught to ignore all these things. So I think it is really hard for me to be in touch with what the hell I'm even feeling, what the hell is even going on. Like, I'm so like out of my body. I know they call that like dissociation, but it's like to the point where I don't even realize like I'm out of my body, and I had to consciously like tune into these different things that is going on. It's so difficult to know where your distress is coming from when you've been taught to ignore every signal your body is giving you. I mean, you have to in an abusive household. You can't be registering everything. You just have to carry on. You were a child trapped in that situation. There is nowhere for you to go. There is nothing you can do. You have to kind of adapt to it and accept it as best you can. And I don't like fault myself for doing that at all, but it does make it difficult to be almost 30 and just discovering, you know, I've been ignoring my signals. Like, your body's signals are good, your emotions are good, and tuning into those can help you know what to do in a situation, what is going on, what you need, what is right. And then on top of that, you have to know not only what's going on, but then how to like communicate those needs to everyone around you. And it's hard when you can't even figure out in yourself like what's going on. So there's so many levels to like unlearning this and learning to listen to your body and to be in tune with your body, I guess you could say. Another example of a sensory issue that I have is ponytails, okay? Sometimes if the ponytail is too tight, it will give me a headache. And other times if it's too loose and my hair falls down in my face, especially while I'm at work or I'm sweating or I'm doing something like running or hard, I will get so fucking pissed if my hair touches me in my face. So, you know, and when you revert, like, I was thinking about this, like, people will tell you you're weak for that. You're stupid for letting that bother you. You're dumb. You're overreacting. You're this and you're that. But what if we reversed it and realized that we are incredibly strong for carrying on in the face of something as simple as a hair tie is bothering us and overwhelming us, and we still go outside and face the pummeling of the world every single day? We are incredibly strong. We have incredible strength, and just to realize how incredibly strong you are, that you've held up under this, even when you didn't understand what the name of it was, what was going on, you still went out there and basically got assaulted by the world every single day. And you may not be, you know, in the best of mental health or the best of places, but you survived. Like, at the end of the day, I feel that we're all survivors. Like, I'm not even mad, really, because it's like, I'm not the weak ass that you think I am. I'm probably stronger than you. It's like, because people don't understand this, because they think just because they're not perceiving the hair tie, you know, as being too tight, or they're not perceiving the food as, you know, too mushy and disgusting, that you're a liar, or, you know, you were somehow trying to deceive them. Like, why would I lie about this? I don't get it. Like, I don't get what the advantage is for me to lie about it. Like, so yeah, society will look down on that and say that you're weak and you're overdramatic and you're this, but you have to realize that's a lie that's been told to you. Like, you are incredibly strong. So I have been realizing this, and I do feel self-conscious, especially about the eye contact thing, now that I know I'm not doing it very well. And I have to just tell you guys, there's also this thing where, like, I copy people, and the best way that I can describe it is, if you've ever read the book Convenience Store Woman, the protagonist in that will kind of copy the behaviors of the people around her to sort of fit in. And this is something that I've done a lot. Like, and I'll give you an example of this. I don't directly copy people, but my usual intro that I do, hi, this is Ariel, you're watching She Wants the Diction. Today I'm going to blah, say blah. So Jen from Remembered Reads has an intro. She says, hi, I'm Jen. So I took that. I changed the name. I changed it, like, I copied that. I changed it to my name. You're watching, and you're watching. You know who does that is Jessie over at Bowties and Books. They used to have that in their intro. So I took that. And then the final thing I added, and today I'm going to be, you know, whatever have you. Grace ASMR uses this in her intro. Today's video is going to be blah, blah, blah. Like, I just basically put together and slightly tweaked a bunch of people's different things because I didn't have an intro. Like, I didn't know how to come up with an intro. My old videos, I would just start them. Like, I would just start talking. Like, no prelude, no nothing. I mean, I didn't really understand YouTube, but I think that's just, most people would have known I need to like greet the people that are watching this, but it just didn't occur to me. And there's a lot of really unusual things like that, kind of, I don't know if it's unusual, but just, I would just jump right in. Like, I've never been the person with the patience for greetings. I've never understood the purpose of doing a hello every fucking time you see somebody. It doesn't matter how many times you see them in the day, you still have to greet them or like acknowledge them every single time. And I've never really understood the purpose. Like, now I kind of do, but especially when I was younger, I would just like flat out like ignore people. Like, I was like, I don't want to say hi to people. And I remember my first job, well, one of my first jobs at Subway, my boss had to actually teach me how to greet people, because I was like, I just don't see the point in greeting them. Like, I just want to take their sandwich order. And like, he literally had to explain to me that I had to greet the customers. And like, I obviously did it, but I didn't really understand that that's kind of, you're perceived as rude if you don't do that. So I feel like that's an example of something that just completely like, it just doesn't occur to me. Like, I need to introduce what I am doing. And I kind of learned in videos, I need to introduce what I am doing before I just start doing a thing. Like, you have to have like transitionary things. And so that's something that I kind of like had to learn, that I didn't innately understand. Like, now I understand the purposes of small talk is to kind of get to know somebody and create a familiarity, because you both have this script that you kind of know, even if it's really annoying. Like, it's so repetitive, it's so annoying, it's so just blah blah blah, how are you, yeah, I'm good, what about you, yeah, it's going okay. Like, to me it's just pointless chit chat because you are uncomfortable with silence. And now I make it a point to do that every single time. Like, after working retail, I think retail will beat it into you. You know what I mean? Like, working retail was the most stressful thing in the world for so very many reasons. Such a triggering environment. If you grew up in abuse, just having customers shout and abuse, just throw things at you, etc. That was probably the worst time of my life. Like, the most horrible health that I've ever had was, and that was actually, yeah, I was working retail when I sought out treatment for anxiety. And obviously, you know, it got bad, because I'm the type of person that my leg could be falling off and I still wouldn't go to the doctors. And see, that's another thing. My dad had that about him. He would wait until something was so bad and to go to the hospital. Like, I remember when I was a kid in like maybe middle school, high school, his legs had been swelling up for like literally months and he could barely walk. And then after months and months, he finally, like, it might have been a year, he finally goes into the hospital and they tell him he's dying of congestive heart failure. Like, that's literally the vibe, is like, I'm not going to go in until I'm dying. Like, and I understand it was probably a financial consideration, like, he didn't have insurance and, you know, all this, but it's also like, I haven't been to a checkup in I don't know how long. I haven't been to the dentist in I don't know how long. And I could at least go in for those checkups, but I just don't. And I think, again, this is like anxiety, executive dysfunction type of thing, where I'm like, well, I don't even know where to start with that. Like, what healthcare do I have and where do I need to go? What place takes my insurance? I need to be 100% sure they take my insurance. And then I need to schedule the appointment. And I need to make sure I get to the appointment. I need to make it on a day that's not inconvenient for me. And, you know, like, all these different things, planning type of things that I am just, it is the worst. It's very stressful. I have to talk on the phone to people. I have to make calls. I have to do research, like, information. And it's boring and it's stupid. I don't want to be doing it anyway. Like, all these considerations, like, so many of the traits that my dad had, I believe, you know, are in at least my older brother. Well, he's not older than me. He's the oldest of my two brothers. And me got passed down. And I believe it is never a good idea to have kids when you have unresolved, untreated mental health issues. And even just knowing most mental health issues are genetic, and it is pretty clear my dad was struggling with something. Once again, not entirely sure what it is, but just knowing that genetic component and seeing the signs in other members of my family makes me very concerned. And it's almost like, you know, I need to seek help, because he never got help for whatever it was that I know of. And so if I don't seek help, I could be going down a similar or the same road. It's almost a warning. It's like, you need to fight and advocate and figure out what this is, because, and I just want to say, the mental health system, the medical system is already so difficult to navigate, and then I'm struggling with this crap and I'm still supposed to navigate it. Like, I have anxiety. To struggle with the anxiety of speaking to people, yet I'm somehow supposed to fight for them to give a shit about what's going on with me and find the underlying causes, rather than just chucking medicine at my head and not really listening to what I'm saying or giving me adequate, like, I don't know, like, even for a well person, it would be difficult to navigate this fucking system. And then you put somebody that's struggling and you just, like, expect them to be able to, like, I don't know, somehow wrangle what they need out of it. Like, you know what I mean? It's so broken. But I believe my underlying anxiety may be caused by, the anxiety stems from something else, which I believe may be ADHD. I don't believe in itself I'm an inherently anxious person. I believe I became that way because I kind of realized people had expectations of me that I couldn't necessarily fulfill in every occasion, and that made me very nervous about how I would be perceived going into it, knowing they expect something from me I can't give. And I never really understood what that is, but the eye contact, number one, very important. People think if you're not looking at them, you're not listening, and you're defiant. But the thing is, I can listen and not be looking at you, and in fact, perhaps listening better. Even right now, I'm playing with this, and I mean, I'll try to talk about the fidgets too, but staying to one subject, if you're not giving people this consistent eye contact, they think you're shady, you're a liar, you're weird, like all these different things. And I never thought I was that bad at eye contact. But then when I started taking the GABA, and I kind of talked about this in my ADHD video, I realized I'm not as great at it as I thought I was. Like, when I took the GABA, my mind slowed down. I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like I didn't know how fast it was going until it slowed down. And I suddenly realized the reason people kind of don't like me is that it's not that I'm being rude. It's honestly like the pace of normal life is too slow. It's too boring. The small talk conversations, I already know they're going to reject me, because I'm not doing whatever social crap they want me to do correctly. So I just zone out of the conversation. Like, it's just so boring and it's so slow, and whatever is in my mind, whatever thoughts I'm having, whatever theories I'm forming are so much more interesting than talking to the boring ass people around me, that I just don't do it anymore. I just don't do it. Like, I learned not to talk about the things I was interested in because people would make fun of me. And I was bullied a lot as a kid, and I could talk about that whole thing, but I mean, suffice to say, I was just bullied a lot, and I didn't know why. I don't really understand why I was bullied, but I think this could be one of many, many reasons, like just subconsciously targeted for being different, different skin, different way of doing things, whatever. So yeah, I kind of realized I just don't, I'm very impatient. I don't want to stand in one place and have a conversation. I'd rather keep it moving. I've had people comment before on how fast that I walk and how fast I'm going and such, and I just didn't realize, people perceive you as rude if you don't want to stop, hang around, and chat about absolutely nothing. To me, all that is a waste of my fucking time. And again, like I said, my inner world is so much more interesting than other people. I'm sorry. Most conversations just don't offer me anything, because once again, I can't talk about the things that I'm interested in. And if I can't talk about the things I'm interested in, what is the point? And that's kind of part of why I created the YouTube channel, so that I could ramble on and on and on and on and on about books, because if people are looking for info on a subject, then I can do it in a set place where it's better for me. And that's another thing, the hyper talkativity, which I was very, very talkative as a child. And again, I think I stopped doing it because I realized people didn't like the real me. People didn't like the talkativeness. And that's where kind of the masking comes in, I believe, because I was very shy. I became much more quiet. I was very shy in high school. Paralyzingly shy. I don't want to use the word paralyzed, but just incredibly shy. I was stunned to see a video of myself from high school where I was just barely speaking, speaking so quietly and just very clearly, so subdued. And I'm sure also, being in an abusive household contributed to that. But I was very talkative. And again, I think I quit doing it. And I really only save that type of thing for my YouTube channel. And that's why I think it's been such a great outlet. And also you can connect with people that have similar interests. Similar thing to Tumblr, where I feel like I was able to connect with people who had similar interests. And, on the internet, you don't have to do eye contact, which is one of the reasons I love it. And, we're told social media is bad and it's this and that, but I love the internet. I'm a child of the internet. The internet is connection. It's honestly I feel like probably an ADHDer's dream. Because you can just lose yourself in there, lose yourself in the information, so many interesting things, I don't know, you can go from page to page, tab to tab, it's very, I don't know, I love the internet. So now, I have forgotten where that point was going. Something about bullying, see, this is exactly what I mean, why I have to kind of, have my thoughts together, have an outline to kind of keep me on track, and noticing now how many times I lose my track of thought because I get carried away. It's extremely weird to be self-aware of it. Before, I was obviously doing it. I just never noticed I was doing it. I understand that's what the disorder is. It's an attention problem. But, oh my God, focusing. This is kind of the metaphor that I used is, it's as if learning that your entire life you've been looking at the world through a cardboard tube, and not realizing you've been looking through this cardboard tube, and having no control over where the cardboard tube goes, but it's not quite all the way up to your eyes, so you can kind of see outside of the tube. You have a peripheral vision, but usually you're just kind of looking wherever the tube takes you. But then something nudges the tube, and you realize, holy shit, I've been looking through a tube. And then you kind of somewhat gain the ability to direct the tube where you want it to go, or at least realize, hey, we need to look over here. The tube, you're not pointing in the right way. Like, it is so hard to explain. The other metaphor that I kind of used is like to my friends, and I don't think I entirely came up with this, but I read it in one of the many books I've been reading about ADHD, because I need to know every fact about anything, like, remotely. Like, that's just how I am. It's how I've always been. It's like a super powerful horse, like a wild stallion, say. And I don't know a lot about training horses, so don't hate me for this, but it is super fast, super powerful. The problem is, if you do not bridle and saddle and tame and learn how to manage this horse, it's going to take you for a ride. You're not going to be riding that horse. It's going to be dragging you around. So you have to kind of tame it. It's a condition, a difference that needs to be managed in the proper way. And when it is, it can be super fast, super awesome, super whatever. But if it's not, Lordy, like, Lordy have mercy. You are going to be dragged by the whims because you don't have the metacognition. Like, you don't have the awareness that you're being dragged everywhere. Like, it's so obvious if I go back and watch my videos and watch myself go off on a 10-minute tangent and then come back to my original point, or watch myself looking all around everywhere, but so obvious the eye contact thing and just the hyper talkativity, because who the fuck can talk about books for 30 plus minutes? Like, I'm sure somebody, but Jesus Christ. Like, and I believe, you know, it's interesting the way that we're socialized, because I think I've channeled the hyper talkativity relatively well, because YouTube is a place where it's like, it's about talking. I also believe kind of this is the reason my videos don't do well, is because I talk too much and I ramble. And I've been told so many times, I even started labeling my videos rambly, because I've been told so many times, you ramble, you know, you da da da. I think I just kind of like, I was like, okay, that's my style, I ramble, and just kind of became more accepting of that. But it's like the whole masking concept. Yeah, you really don't show the talkative, sort of excited, passionate, whatever part of yourself to people, because you just learned they don't want to hear it, they don't care, you're weird, shut up. Like, and when I learned about the concept of masking, I just identified with it so heavily, because I feel like this is my real life. Like, on the channel is who I really am. Like, with Adam is who I really am. With my friends I've had since high school, that's who I really am. It's not the person that I act like during the day that like has to consciously smile. Also, this is funny, but I try to make the effort to like start smiling in my intro, because I realize other people smile, I should be smiling. Like, I even was watching some footage back where I said this, like, I'm supposed to be smiling. Like, I have to like consciously make the effort to smile. Like, it doesn't really feel natural for me to just smile. Like, most people are like, yeah, hi, nice to see you. Like, I have to like consciously make the effort to smile. And like with the eye contact thing, it's like, sometimes I just don't know how long I'm supposed to look, where I'm supposed to look. Okay, am I making this awkward? Am I, like, I have to like consciously think about it so hard. Like, I just feel like normal people don't have to think so hard about where to look. Like, it's just a skill that comes naturally to them, but like, I overthink the bitch. I don't know, and I was just like, I'm playing with this, it's like a gel compress, but I've sort of been integrating a lot of different things. I've learned that scheduling is good for ADHD, like having a set schedule, which I've never had in my entire life. Sleep problems, also a big issue. And I do believe I've been chronically sleep deprived for years, because you hit peak efficiency when everyone else is going to bed. And so you may be dragging throughout the day because your brain has trouble waking up, which is why stimulants are usually what is prescribed, and also could explain my caffeine addiction. But so you feel tired and sluggish throughout the day, and then suddenly you wake up right when it's time to go to bed, and you end up staying up way too late because you don't want to miss the hours where you actually feel good. Makes total sense, but you end up chronically sleep deprived. And again, this is a similar thing. I didn't realize how bad my quality of sleep was until I started taking melatonin regularly, and one day I woke up and felt refreshed. Like, I felt good and ready to start the day, and I was like, is this how normal people feel every single day? Like, no wonder they think I am insane. I was like, I can't remember ever waking up and feeling refreshed. Like, this was literal insanity to me. So if you know, I seem irritated, and my dad had anger issues, different things, doesn't excuse the abuse, but it does kind of explain it. ADHD already makes you irritated and pissed off, but sleep issues could be contributing to that as well. And like, I don't know if it's autism, I don't know if it's ADHD. Sleep issues are a thing in autism and ADHD and all kinds of other, you know, type of conditions. Again, so I don't know specifically what it is. All I'm saying is, imagine being chronically sleep deprived for like decades of your life, and like people are like talking to you and expecting you to like do things and like respond in a socially appropriate manner. Like, of course you're going to be fucking just on a hair's breadth from losing your shit. It's just a confluence of many different things, I believe. But it's like that. It's like, I didn't realize I was looking through the cardboard tube. I didn't realize my sleep quality was so bad. I was used to it. That was normal for me. Like, that was normal. Obviously, I knew I was tired all the time, falling asleep all the time, whatever, but I didn't know it was because my sleep quality, listen, not like I wasn't sleeping at all. I would sleep in on the weekends and stuff like that, but no matter how much I slept, I was always tired. And I've also learned chronic fatigue can be a sign of ADHD, which I've definitely struggled with, chronic fatigue, and just kind of feeling like you could never get it together because you're just so overwhelmed all of the time. So the sleep, that was another important thing. Learning about time blindness, which is basically like you don't have a good sense of how much time has passed and your awareness of time. Now, when I think I overcompensated for this. So I am paranoid about being late. I will walk in almost exactly on time every single day at work. I'm kind of notorious for this. So I won't be late anymore. It's almost like I'm freaking out to the point where like I cannot be late. It is a priority that I do not be late. But every morning I would still be rushing around. Where's my stuff? Couldn't find my stuff, and I've started like gathering all of my keys, everything that I need for the day in one spot the night before, preparing the night before. I've even started waking up good and early. Another thing with ADHD, getting enough movement. Which I definitely was not doing. And it's hard when you have a job that's already physical because you're fucking poor, and then you have to go and do your exercise. Like, you have to go do your walks and do your runs, and it's like, I'm in pain. My lower back's in pain. My freaking shin splints. Like, it's just hard when you have a physically demanding job, and then you also, like, require a certain amount of exercise to give you that dopamine release. And so realizing I need more movement than other people. And so running was very therapeutic for me when I was, younger. And this was years ago that I would run a lot. I would also walk everywhere, and this was by necessity because I didn't have a car. My dad never took me to get my license. I didn't have anyone's car that I could use or to practice on. I did not have access for years. I've been through a hell of a lot in my life. I've been homeless. I've been at the lowest of the low. And so everything that I have, I pretty much built up from scratch. So anyways, getting a lot of exercise was very good for me. And I won't say I was doing good during that period because I was still drinking, struggling with substance abuse, essentially, where I think, I just wanted to get out of that social anxiety and also, have a good time, make up for kind of that time that I spent, locked up in an abusive household, and kind of make up for lost time because I had a lot of things I didn't get to experience because my parents were so just controlling. This is everything from relationships to, I just had my privacy invaded a lot, and I never got to have fun because I was always taking care of my younger siblings, which I found out later is called parentification. Like, there's just layers and layers to this fucking shit. I could sit and talk and ramble for hours, and I was like, I need to write out like a bullet point list of what I want to talk about so I don't like go on too long. But like, I also figured if I just started talking, stuff would start coming out in a very non-linear fashion, as it does. I also think the non-linearity of me just confuses people. Like, they don't ever know what I'm talking about, and I often feel like I'm making no sense. I feel like I'm only making sense to myself, but in my mind it makes perfect sense, and other people aren't following like these leaps that I'm making from topic to topic to topic, and it's just so apparent to me now that I do that, but never really understood why. Like, I don't know. But now I kind of realize why. But to go back to the time blindness thing, is just, I obviously knew I had trouble getting places on time and like being prepared and stuff like that, but I didn't realize that losing things could be a sign. Losing things frequently, misplacing things, which I definitely do. And the time blindness thing is also like, I didn't realize how much time, I always felt like I never had enough time, and time was going super quickly, when the truth of it is, if you're hyper-focused, time is not a thing to you. So you look up and it's like been hours. Like, you just become so engrossed in whatever it is you're doing, like with reading, say, or binging TV or whatever. You don't even realize how much time has passed. Like, learning that I don't really have an internal clock kind of helped me a lot, because now I'm like, okay, well, I'm spending way too long on this. I need to like break myself out of it. I need to go do something productive, because usually the stuff that you're like intensely zoned in on is not productive. But you can make that work to your advantage if you start doing something, even if it's unpleasant, and you can kind of get zoned into it. But again, it's all about the awareness of what, if you're doing this. But if you don't know you're doing it, it just seems like you're miserable, because your time, here's the thing, time will drag. When you're not doing something interesting, when you're doing something boring, time will drag out just infinitesimally, I don't know. You know that word. Time will drag. It feels like death. It feels like hell. Like, work especially has been difficult for me, because this is what it feels like when you're doing something unpleasant. It drags on and on and on. And I would complain a lot of times, and people would be like, it's not that bad. I think you're exaggerating. This job isn't that bad. Like, they would just tell me I was crazy, basically. But knowing that it feels like such a long time to me, because I have such a poor sense of time, like, it feels like an eternity, an hour feels like an eternity when you're doing something unpleasant. But when you're doing something you love, time goes like that, and you're like, where did the time go? Oh no. Like, now another day's over, and I feel like I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish, and it's ending, and you just start freaking out. Like, noticing that the time perception is sort of in flux has been, I don't know, just kind of helpful to know that that happens to me. Like, time slips away from me really, really quickly, and wearing a watch has helped. Like, I can look and see, oh yeah, I've spent this amount of time. Like, kind of having that reminder there has been really helpful. So yeah, getting the movement, increased movement, because with ADHD is like basically dopamine and norepinephrine don't work as they're supposed to, and this is assuming this is what I have, but I believe this is what I have. So when your body is the reuptake of dopamine, it's taking it back up too quickly, so you will not feel good for very long before you're seeking something else. So dopamine seeking is a thing, and I believe this is the dopamine and sensation seeking, I believe, is what got me in trouble a lot in my younger years, like in my early 20s, because I would be restless, needing to do something, not knowing where that feeling of I just need to do something, anything right now, not knowing where it came from, not understanding why I felt that way, and then I would end up doing the wrong thing. Like, so I would end up, drinking till I blacked out, or I would end up, fucking people that, I didn't want to really be fucking, but I was just like looking for a sensation or like a quick dopamine fix. Like, it's like I didn't even like this person, I would just do it. Also impulsivity, that's another aspect of what comes into it, is just like the spur of the moment thing, like, yeah, fuck it, like that type of a deal. Not even realizing you're dopamine seeking, just you're always needing something. Like, why are you so just like, you feel like you're going crazy, like you just need something to do, or I suppose someone to do. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but you get my point. And I think this sensation seeking, really not knowing why I was like that, really got me into some trouble and into some bad situations. And with the substance abuse as well, I believe, just like when my thoughts slowed down and I realized they were racing all the time, and I started reading these books and realizing it's not normal for your thoughts to go 100 miles an hour, and constantly be thinking 24/7, I kind of realized, who the fuck wouldn't want that shit to shut up? Like, of course you're gonna fucking get addicted to alcohol. I don't think I was an alcoholic, but I recognized I was sliding into something and kind of made the conscious choice to stop doing it, which was good. But recognizing that if your mind is talking 24/7, most people are gonna want that to stop. So yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. You want a reprieve from your brain. You want your brain to shut off for a while. And like, there are very few times when it's going to do that. So yeah, it's just like a constant internal chatter that I think you don't realize other people don't have. So yeah, kind of creating a set bedtime, wake time. It helps to have Adam. He's a real motivation because he can, get me up, so we can go on the walk together. Keeps me accountable. I'm like, I don't want to disappoint Adam. I've read that it helps to have a body double in ADHD, which makes sense to me, because the only reason I was able to do keto for so long was that I didn't want to like cheat on the diet, or I knew like, it wasn't fair because he couldn't cheat. So I had this like accountability. And also, like, with my executive dysfunction, I think is why I hate cooking so much, because there's so many steps to it and it's so annoying. And by the time you're cooking, you're already hungry. But so you have to wait like another hour for the food to get cooked, and it just creates a hangry situation where I'm so impatient that I'll just eat whatever's laying around. It doesn't matter what it is. When I lived by myself, I would eat a lot of snack foods, and I would pretty much only cook tacos, and then I would cook those like once a week. And so the rest of it was like sandwiches because they were easy, and then snack foods. And I'm like, that seems like executive dysfunction incarnate. But so anyways, the only reason I was able to stay on that for so long is that I had him pretty much cooking like all our meals. Like, I would always clean. Like, I have no problem with cleaning because that's what I grew up doing as a kid, was like cleaning up all the time. So I would do all the dishes, and he hates the dishes. So it worked out perfectly. Like, it was a perfect synthesis. But now that he's going back to school, he doesn't have time to cook every single meal for me. So that's another thing. That's probably the next thing that I need to work on, is fending for myself as far as meals, because I end up eating a lot of frozen foods. And yeah, because I just know I'm not going to have the wherewithal to prepare things, especially not with working. And so yeah, another thing I've been incorporating is just fidgets. I have different ones. This one isn't even really fidget, it's just a thing, ice pack that I got out of the freezer. But fidgets can help calm me down when I am bored or I'm stressed. I can reach into my pocket, need the little whatever stress ball. It just helps a lot. And it doesn't even have to be obvious or out in public all the time. It doesn't have to be something loud or whatever. Like, even chewing half a pack of gum a day has really helped me, I think, just to have the flavor. When I'm just bored and I like want to feel something, like again, sensation seeking, like I just want something, the motion of it I think helps relax me, because I'm like, it's almost as if there's always this open channel in my brain, and if I fill it with something else, whether that's noise or some type of like relaxing movement, like this whole video I've just been squeezing this, then it actually helps me concentrate better on what's going on. And I've noticed this even like at work, if there's a meeting and I'm just like, you know, doing my little fidget thing under the table where it's not obvious, I can actually listen a lot better because I'm not as bored sitting there hearing things that's already been said to me a million times. You know, I don't know if they're stims. I don't know what they are. I've read that ADHD people can stim. I also believe one of mine may be dancing. And again, these are not like, I don't know how to explain it. I have read voluntary stimming is a possibility, like it's a thing that exists. And I don't know if maybe I used to stim as a kid and it got suppressed because again, abusive household, like I can't remember that. I do remember loving to spin, which I have heard is an autism thing. Like I could ride any ride, teacups, whatever. My brother would throw up, but I just wanted to ride them like forever. I also loved the yo-yo. You would sit in the seat and it would take you up and it would be like this sensation where you were like flying through the air. I also used to get a lot more movement as a kid. Like I was in gymnastics as a kid. I was just a lot more active because I think I'm very clumsy now and I came to hate sports just because I'm so bad at it. But I also realized this could be an issue with having a bad perception of where I am in space. I think they call it proprioception. But yeah, I realized that could be one reason that I hated team sports so much, and also just like the synergy of it. Like you have to be in tune with your other team members, and I was never good at that. So of course the sport that I picked, cross country, solo running. Running is a solo thing. I also remember picking this, and this is kind of funny. I picked running as like my IB like extracurricular, specifically because I thought I would not have to learn any rules, which you have to learn the rules in team sports. And I also thought I wouldn't need to like get a bunch of stuff for it. Like it's literally just shoes and like, you know, whatever that thing is they wear, not a jersey. Why do I care about this detail right now? That thing. And I was like, that's all I need. I don't need to like really learn anything, which that was false because we had to learn like specific stretches and like techniques of running and stuff like that. But I was like, this will be the easiest one that I could possibly pick. Like, isn't that just funny that I just picked like I thought the easiest thing. And then once we were outside in 90-degree weather, running around a tar black track for like 3 miles every day, like I no longer thought it was the easiest one. But yeah, again, do not know where my train of thought went. And I tend to kind of cut this stuff out of my YouTube videos. I probably look much more coherent than I actually am in real life because I cut a lot of my ahs, and trying to figure out where I was in the conversation out of my videos. So that's one great thing about YouTube. I can look a little more competent and sense making than I actually am. But yeah, I think the point was the fidgets. And I've started like, you know, I don't know, like at home by myself, no one else, headphones in, I would kind of always maybe like dance, or like in the car by myself, I maybe like sing, but it's not really like good dancing. Like, but when I think back 2 times in my life where I felt really happy, a lot of them were me dancing, you know, going out to a club and just dancing really hard the whole night. Like I would feel really good. And one time I was drunk and wandering around with my boyfriend at the time downtown, and we happened upon this rave, and I started out the rave obviously drunk and I was dancing and having a great time. And slowly I got more and more sober, but the more and more sober I got, the better I felt. And I just loved it because I could dance. No one was looking at how I danced. No one was thinking I was weird. Like everyone was kind of jumping and flailing around. And like, I just felt really good. Like that was one of like the best experiences that I had at that time in my life. Cause I was like, oh my God, that was so fun. I have to like go to more raves. I need to do this. Like, I just got really like excited about it. And I was like, I just had a really, really good time. So thinking back to those moments, I think I used to get a lot more movement as a kid because my dad had a job kind of like, he would sing karaoke at night in like bars and stuff, but he would also play in stuff like old folks home, or like homes for people with disabilities and stuff like that. I don't know what you call it, but so anyways, we would go to like these performances, and these ones at the kids' home were very family friendly. So we would get a lot of dancing because he would be performing for, you know, a couple hours. And so I think I was getting a lot of movement as a kid. I was also very well challenged. I was mostly recognized as smart. Like I was in gifted programs and stuff. So I think I got a lot of challenge in school. Now my camera's dying, but contrast this with my brother, who was not recognized as being gifted, which I think he very much is. He's just as intelligent as me. He just has more severe, what I think is ADHD, more severe symptoms than me, and he's also been socialized differently. So he never learned to kind of curb that hyper-talkativity. He didn't learn that it leads to social rejection, and yeah, he's a lot more trouble with the eye contact thing than I believe I do, but that could be subjective. So, but anyways, he was not recognized as gifted, so I think he did a lot worse in school. And he was perceived as, you know, he was kind of the scapegoat of the family. So he was told that he was stupid and dumb and like, why can't you be like your sister, and why? I can't imagine how frustrating that was. Like, even at the time, I knew it was wrong, and I didn't feel like this super great, smarter than him person. Like, I just wanted us to be treated equally and fairly, and all I wanted was for him to be, you know, treated the same. And I didn't understand why that was. Like, my little sense of injustice as a kid was definitely violated. Because I just couldn't understand, like, my brother was the same as me. Why treat him horribly and me like better, but also conditionally better. Like, it's not actually better because your love is dependent on you being like this show off that your parents can like brag about, and you got straight A's, and you have to be perfect. So much of your identity becomes tied up in perfectionism. And I'm also trying to let go. Like, I do think I've re-recorded videos for this channel before that I felt weren't up to par. I wasn't articulate enough. I forgot a point. I didn't edit out this lip smack. I didn't, like, I've redone entire videos before because of that. And I don't know if that's my perfectionism leaping out. I don't know if that's, say, OCD tendencies that maybe my dad had because of like the hoarding thing. I don't know. And I don't even know if this is everything. I don't know how long I've talked. It could have been an hour. It could have been, I'm guessing, like 45 minutes. The point being, I could talk forever about this. And I believe it is the key. It is the thing I've been trying to understand my entire life, but never could. It is the answer to everything. It is massively important. So I guess I just wanted to come on here and kind of spew a bunch of stuff that's on my mind, because even going back and looking at my videos from years ago has been very educational, informative, and I think this is a pivotal moment in my life of this realization why I've always felt like an alien. That's an interesting thing also. I have described, even before I knew any of this stuff about neurodiversity or any of these conditions, or that I was abused, or was able to acknowledge and state I was abused, like, openly. Even before that, I described myself as an alien, and this is apparently a common thing that people with Asperger's say. And I was just shocked to my core. Like, a lot of these things, reading about a lot of these autism things, like, I just cried, because I was like, that would really explain it. Like, that would really explain it. And I don't want to cry right now, but yeah. Point being, I am going to, in my own time, in my own way, seek to find specifically what is wrong with me. I'm going to make someone listen to me. I'm going to make someone believe me. I'm going to keep looking until someone is willing to look into this and listen to everything I have to say and identify exactly what it is, so I can finally know and finally be validated, get on with my life. And of course, I'm still going to keep doing my own research and doing my own methods and trying to stay as natural as I can, but I am more open-minded to the concept of medication since I've been reading about it. And, realizing this is an external thing, not a personal failing like I was told it was. You're so smart, why can't you do this? You're so smart, you should be able to handle this, you should be able to do everything. Like, I think people often just see a smart person and they put all this weight onto me, not realizing I am already struggling under the weight of holding up the mask of the normal, smart, perfect person that you think I am. And it's not the truth. Like, I struggle to function at that level. And knowing the cause of why I struggle to function and implementing things, different things that I feel like are helping me. Maybe this can be valuable to someone. Maybe someone else watching this or on my channel can be helped by me sharing this information, because this has already been life-changing. It's almost as if I've been turned inside out. I mean, the realization, the acknowledgement that I was abused, writing all that out on my Instagram, doing that has been so therapeutic. It's like, you turn inside out. You turn inside out from all these things were done to me because I was bad to, I was never bad. I had to believe there was something I could do to fix the situation, even though I was a powerless child. Like, realizing that's an illusion you had to create for survival. Like, all these things turning inside out, like, you're such a weak person, you're such a bad person. Realizing, no, I'm incredibly strong, that I've survived all the things that I've survived. I was never bad, like, I was never weak. I am strong, powerful, and I have survived, and now I will find a way to thrive. So if you are here, still here, thank you so much for listening to this, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.